Hi guys, today we're talking shoulders. Everybody's got them. A lot of us have banged them up over years of sports or being physically active, and a lot of us actually have pain when we wake up or pain throughout some point in our CrossFitting career or just working out in general. And I want to kind of break down the difference between what is pain when it's time to go to a doctor and what is pain that we can take care of on our own. Self-care for your muscles is super important, and the shoulder joint is a specifically gnarly joint because it's a ball and socket joint, and in order to have the great range of motion we have with that joint, there comes a lot less stability and a lot less protection from other muscles and just strength like we can in the knee or other joints. So I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible and tell you in layman's terms as much as I remember it. That's how I usually remember things, and give you the nuts and bolts to hopefully help some of you guys identify what is muscle tension causing pain and what is some things that you can do and prevent this pain from happening, because you can either change loading, change movements, or be more aware of posture or just things you do every day. Or what are things that when the pain gets so bad that it's time to see a doctor, or there's some things going on that you just can't take care of and you don't really know why, and then that's when I think it's time to go see a doctor. So a lot of people over the years they come up with shoulder pain, and at some point in us talking with people and members, there's shoulder pain involved. And what I usually do is I ask some questions. And when I ask questions, I'm like, hey, how do your traps feel? How do your triceps feel? How do your pecs feel? How do your lats? Usually get this answer. Well, it feels good. Yeah, I'm good. Nothing in there. And then I'll come over, and everybody knows my thumb. I dig my thumb in your trap, and you guys, like, basically it's like you got shot in the shoulder. You hit the ground. There are knots and there are things happening at the muscular level, at the cellular level, when your muscles are repairing and breaking down and then repairing themselves. And if you have a muscle pattern of tension or holding tension in certain parts of these muscles, or you have sleeping patterns that are shrinking and shortening these muscles, that's going to affect where your shoulder sits in the shoulder socket. So we're going to talk a lot about the shoulder. The video is going to be a little bit longer about the why are we talking about it, who should be paying attention to this, and then the subsequent videos are going to give you the breakdown and the specific hands-on. Here's how you're going to get into the trap. Here's how you're going to get into the pec. Here's how I want you to mash out the tricep. So first of all, the shoulder is a ball and socket joint. So there is a bone that goes into the socket, and it's held in this place in here. What happens is, a lot of times people's shoulders aren't in the right place. I have internally rotated shoulders. A lot of you guys do too. If I press on my shoulder, I can depress the shoulder down. If it actually sits back where it belongs, I can no longer depress the shoulder down. So first of all, our posture is super important. If we walk around like this, just a little degree out, the strain this causes all up in the trap is going to be significant. And over time, that pulling and that tension is going to create more tightness and tension here than what should be. So if I can keep my posture, my shoulder back in place, that's going to be the first thing. So shoulder blades back a little bit and a little more externally rotated is going to be a good way just to carry your posture. So be aware, is that you, or are you somebody that's a texter? You're a typer, you're sitting and you're constantly forward? That's going to cause strain here. Second thing that posture does is it shortens this muscle here, your pec muscles that come out here. If you're constantly in this internally rotated state, then this muscle that should be this long is being hanging out in this position here. So when you go to stretch it, it naturally wants to come back to this shortened position. That's creating a little more tension here in the pec and some tightness here that doesn't always allow you to get your shoulder open. Some of my tight people overhead, I'm not going to name you at this moment, but when you go to get overhead, what could be happening is your pecs could be pulling you forward, so you can't get your shoulder into that open position because they're used to being tightened here. So when we say about mechanics and barbell position overhead, it's not always your fault if you have a shortened pec, if you have some tightness going on in the shoulder, but it is your responsibility to know that and take care of that. So if you know you're a person that has that tightening and you have those rounded shoulders, you can just take a picture of yourself. You can talk to people. You can have them come over and just press on your shoulders. If your shoulders don't sit in the place where they belong, most likely you have some internal rotation. And it can be a problem if you are there long enough and cause this tightness in these areas. So one thing you can do is start standing or start stretching yourself out, being in this elongated position, opening up your chest more. The band work that we do, opening things up and stretching and squeezing in the back, that's meant to help squeeze back here to help lengthen and stretch the front. Take care of your pecs. The other muscle group that's affected, like I said, is your trap. A lot of times people have a lot of tension up here in the trap. That's where you hold your stress. That's where a lot of times people just are already come in and they're rock solid up here. But if you also do cleaning, snatching, any of our barbell work that involves that shrug, the transfer of the power from our hips and our legs to the shoulder, that's going to require a lot of this. That's going to activate that trap, and we need the trap to do its work. But after a big workout where they're used, they can hold tension and they can hold some stress in there too, and that can be a cause of shoulder pain because of the pulling here. Another cause for pulling in the shoulder, another muscle that surrounds the shoulder joint, is the lat. Your lat is your big muscle in the back here. Pull-ups, rowing, anything that we're engaging and we're pulling back here or back and down, that's this muscle here. When that gets sticky and that has some knots or some cobwebs, we like to say, that are building because your muscles are repairing, but there's a sticky point where the muscles don't glide well and they kind of get jammed and stuck. At that point, there can be pulling down here from the lat, and that pulling can cause your shoulder not to be in quite that right groove or be in the right place. Another muscle, so we talked pec, trap, lat. Another one, I always call triceps, sneaky triceps. Here, come back and attach back in the area as well of the shoulder. And when your triceps are tight and your triceps have a knot in them from doing push presses, a lot of pressing overhead, a ton of burpees, a ton of push-ups, the triceps can be pulling down on the shoulder and be causing some pulling and some tension in the shoulder that doesn't allow the shoulder to be in the right spot. Anytime there's an imbalance and there's that pulling on the shoulder, there could be a cause for the shoulder to not be rolling and gliding as smoothly in that joint. And over time, that junky glide or that junky pull from an irregular pulling or not balanced pull, that can over time cause some inflammation in your shoulder. The inflammation in there's no room in a shoulder. Shoulder's a really tight joint that doesn't have a lot of room for error or a lot of room for that inflammation. So as soon as we feel inflammation in there, some of us, if we have some shoulder issues or don't have the cleanest of shoulders already, we're going to feel that a lot greater than some other people. So you might be experiencing pain here in the shoulder, and people usually tell me when I say, how's your trap? They're like, no, it's not up there. It's right here. How's your tricep? No, it's not my tricep. It's right here. The pain you feel is because that's the shoulder and where the shoulder joint is. The pain you're feeling most likely is that inflammation. But I want to identify, your job is to identify, why are you feeling the inflammation? Why are you getting the inflammation? What muscle is irritated? So that's what we're going to look at. What workout have you done? And when you have that shoulder pain, when you think about it, I want you to actually think through, what did I do yesterday? What did I do 2 days ago? Or what did I do last week that may have been a big volume workout that could be causing this issue? If you think back to any pressing, pushing, pulling, or heavy shrugging movements, that could give you the answer. If you start seeing a pattern with your shoulder pain and that same movement, now we might be getting somewhere as to what muscle group is it. The second thing you do after you think through what movements have you been doing, second thing is feel around. I need you to feel what muscle group can you maybe feel some tender spots. Like I said, these muscles, you're gonna be able to move your shoulder. Shoulder hurts, but you don't always feel the pain in those muscles. So get your thumb, get some fingers, dig around in your trap. If you can feel a knot, or get a buddy to dig an elbow in there. If they can feel a spot, and you'll know it if you have some tension there, you have a tender spot. If you can find something there, don't freak out about the shoulder pain until you work through getting all the knots out. Until you get through all those cobwebs, it's like layers. You got to kind of work through the onion. The first onion layers you got to get through are just feeling those muscle tensions and working through them. So I know right here, I have internally rotated shoulders. My pecs are usually tight. So right here, I'm feeling a little knot. I can do that just by going like this, taking a little walk with my fingers. There's my identifying knot. My shoulders are tight. I'm going to press and try to lengthen through that muscle group. Come up here to my trap, same thing. Work through, try to feel where that is. I got a spot right here, super tight, super tense. For this muscle, I'm gonna shrug, I'm gonna press down, and I'm gonna punch across my body to help lengthen that. So my elbow's up, I come down, press across my body while I'm digging in there. This one's easier if you have somebody else shoving their elbow into your trap. Next thing, triceps. Take your thumb side, and all you're gonna do is hold on to your elbow and start working your thumb up the arm. If you can find a spot right there, you're gonna flex and extend through it. The more rotation and flexion you kind of get out through that, you're lengthening that muscle and trying to work through that knot while you lengthen it. Last, your lat. A lot of times with the lats, I like to roll over, use a ball or use a lat roll or use a foam roller to find my lats, but I can usually identify by just poking around down here where my sports bra is, just to kind of find if I have anything tender. When I do find that, that's when I kind of get on a ball or get on things. So think through, what movements did you do? Next, feel around. Do you feel any tender spots? Next, we want to lengthen and work through them. So just identifying them is the most important thing first. If you have them, now you know that's your job to work through those issues and work through those muscles and those little tender spots before we wig out that there's something totally wrong with my shoulder. Next video is coming your way. We're going to show a little bit more about how we really can get into all those muscle groups and really work through them. Comment below if you have shoulder pain, when you have your shoulder pain, or what else you want to find out about shoulders. My last thing is this. Posture is one thing, sleeping is another thing. When you sleep for many hours in one position typically, and if you fall into that REM sleep and you're in deep sleep, a lot of times everything relaxes in your muscles. So if you're a side sleeper, we can have a lot of issues with that internal rotation. If we're side sleeping, we can have some lat issues because we're sticky and we're kind of rotating in. A lot of issues happen the way you sleep with shoulders, and I learned this the hard way. I didn't want to believe it for a while, but some of you know I kind of sleep in anatomically correct position. That's palms up. That's here, and I lay on my back. I find that's the best thing for my shoulders. Otherwise, I wake up and I have a dead arm. I can't pick anything up way in front of me. I can't bring a barbell down. Any of that rotation kills my shoulders if I sleep poorly on my shoulders, and I literally feel like I have no strength at all. So if you are a person that suffers from any of that, struggles with any of that, I want to hear from you. I want to find out what else we can do to see if we can identify any knots. Or is it that you have some rotator cuff issues? You have some tears in there. I'm sure I do. If I would get an MRI, I would bet you $1 million I did. I was a goalkeeper in college. I dove for years on my arms. I used to be able to sublux my arms and pop my shoulders out of the joints. They are not the strongest bone in my joint in my body. But I have learned over time of how to strengthen them and what movements I can and can't do, or which one stresses them out, or when I'm in inflammation, what I have to do to get myself in a position where they can move well, glide better, and that I can still move them without a lot of that inflammation happening, and I can have happier shoulders. I want that for you. We want that for you so that you can move on to doing your movements and keep getting stronger with your moves and not feel like you can't do them. I want you to start identifying ways of helping to take care of your body. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you have anything else, and stay tuned for the next video of how to work out some of this junk.